men who are dangerous and dedicated their lives to this sport and don't have a fraction of the money you have because you've managed to become a clown, the biggest clown on the internet. If you want to fight and you want to send a contract, send one to me. I will take a few weeks break from living my retired life to kick the living out of a fucking goofy, fucking entitled kid like you. You know my name, Andrew Tate. Fucking Google it if you want to know more.
Andrew Tate wants to teach Jake Paul a lesson, so he brutally calls out Jake Paul. He asserted that Jake Paul has created a mess in boxing and the easy money game should be stopped, so he will knock out Jake Paul to end his boxing career.
But let's say he would call you to fight. Would you take it?
Yeah, I mean, Jake and I actually talk. He's an all right guy. There was a time we were talking about fighting each other, and I think if this arrest didn't happen, it probably would have come to fruition. We'll see what happens in the future. We'll see. Perhaps. Maybe. It's possible. There's nothing's no. Nothing's yes. We'll see. I'll escape this Matrix attack, and perhaps if he needs to be taught a lesson, I'll be the guy to teach him.
I will fight you any day of the week. Don't worry about Conor McGregor you up. Don't worry about Floyd Mayweather you up. You only want to lose to them so you can say, well, I lost to Conor McGregor. Why don't you lose to an old man who's retired?
Meanwhile, after Jake Paul's win over Mike Tyson on November 15th, iShowSpeed, an American YouTuber and renowned online streamer, made a bold statement at Complex Con, claiming he could take down the social media star Jake Paul in a boxing match. Speed boldly predicted, "I feel like I can beat Jake Paul in a fight. Look, I respect his work ethic, but when I watch him box, he doesn't look fluent. I feel like I could really get him. When you watch it, you see flaws in his game." Speed's bold challenge to Jake Paul at Complex Con has stirred up speculation about a potential boxing match. The crowd was stunned, but Speed didn't stop there. He added, "Especially if I have 6 months of training, I'm beating any boxer in this world." The streamer even predicted he'd knock Paul out, just not in the first round. However, Jake Paul's manager, Nakisa Badarian, wasn't about to let this challenge slide. Allegedly, Badarian responded with a jaw-dropping offer, stating that Paul's team would put up $20 million if Speed could actually back up his claims in the ring.
I feel like I can beat Jake Paul in a fight. Boxing match, yes. Like when I watch him box, it's like it doesn't look fluent, Like I feel like I can like really get him. And especially if I have 6 months, all I need is 6 months. If I have 6 months of training, I'm being any boxer in this world. I think I'm knocking him out. Like the 5th, 6th round, I'm getting him. It's gonna just be that one good one, like the one that Gervonta Davis did on Ryan. He's done. He's sweet.
In a comment on Instagram, Badarian wrote, "Cool, tell him I have $10 million for him right now. Sign this week. If he beats Jake, he gets a $10 million bonus. Put your signature where your clout is." Not one to stay quiet, Jake Paul also allegedly responded to Speed's challenge, saying, "Speed knows better, and my guy was playing for sure." Things didn't end here. Andrew Tate initially credited Paul for his ability to sell tickets and bring attention to boxing, but expressed confidence in his ability to defeat him. Tate also joked about a possible tag team match involving Logan Paul and Hasbulla. After defeating Mike Tyson, Jake's controversial win has raised eyebrows.
I have $50 million to bet with you, but I do have $3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million. You put 3, I put 3, winner takes all. I'm 5 years out the ring. I'm a kickboxer. You're 2-0 in boxing. I'm 0-0 in boxing. I've never even fought boxing. I'm a retired old man. 5 years I've been sitting around smoking cigars and which are better looking than the girl you're advertising anyway.
Andrew Tate has challenged Jake Paul to a $3 million winner-takes-all fight. For Tate, it's not just about the money, it's about proving the difference between true fighters and entertainers while demanding respect and pride in the sport. Andrew Tate criticized the gap between Jake Paul's celebrity-driven boxing success and the sacrifices of real fighters. He pointed out how many dedicated boxers train tirelessly, risk everything, and rarely earn the massive paydays Paul enjoys. Tate emphasized that Paul's fame doesn't reflect the grit, struggle, and dedication required in the sport, shining a light on the unfair reality most fighters face.
There are a whole bunch of men out here who will never be as famous as you, will never make the money you've made, who would kick the living you. This is the hardest sport in the world, and people dedicate their lives to this, and most of them never get a payday. It never pays off for the majority of fighters, all of which would you up.
Talking about Tate history, he is a 4-time kickboxing world champion and has also competed in the MMA cage in his career and has 6 fights under his belt. His total record stands at 4-2 in both amateur and professional. As for Paul, the social media star enjoyed another triumph as he overcame former undisputed heavyweight world champion Mike Tyson in Dallas, securing his win via unanimous decision. Paul was more than 30 years Tyson's junior, and their age difference eventually told in the latter stages of the contest.
With your blessing, can I beat the shit out of Andrew Tate?
100%, yeah. I don't think he would fight us.
Come on, he's a top G.
Nah, I don't think he would fight us.
Come on.
He was a fanboy. Look at this message. It says, accept message request from Andrew Tate.
Well, what if it was like, yo, like when I see you in
No,
Romania.
but then why would he unsend it? What I'm saying is that Andrew, if my brother doesn't you up, I will. And it has to go down.
The bout, a first-of-its-kind live sporting event on Netflix, was heavily criticized because of the age disparity between the two. While speaking about Paul recently, Tate recalled the time when he was in discussions to potentially fight him. With his usual confidence, Andrew Tate left things open-ended, hinting at a potential showdown with Jake Paul in the future. Whether to settle scores or teach a lesson, Tate seems ready to step into the ring if the moment arises. Tate said, "Jake and I actually talk. He's an alright guy. There was a time when we were talking about fighting each other. If this arrest didn't happen, it probably would have come to fruition. We'll see what happens in the future. It's possible. We'll see. And perhaps if he needs to be taught a lesson, I'm gonna be the guy to teach him a lesson." Andrew Tate hinted at still being open to fighting Jake Paul, revealing that they've had discussions in the past. He acknowledged Paul as an alright guy, but suggested their match was derailed by his legal troubles. Despite this, Tate left the door open for a future clash, teasing that he might be the one to teach Jake a lesson if the opportunity arises. Reflecting on his fight with Mike Tyson, Jake Paul shared how this bout felt different from his past experiences. Speaking about the dangerous fight, Paul said, "This fight was just different. I felt a lot less nervous than normal. I'm just getting so used to these moments. Fighting in a stadium, it is less personal and less loud, so it is less nerve-wracking. Arenas are harder to fight in. Walking out, I was cool, calm, and collected. First round, I was gauging his speed, and I managed to get his time pretty quick. I saw how I could tag him up and touch him. The rest was pretty much history. I just outboxed him and had fun." The win extended his professional record to 11-1. Following the win over Tyson, the problem child has now added to his stacked CV. In his career so far, the young American has defeated the likes of Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley, Nate Diaz, and Ben Askren. Though some believe he showed respect to Tyson but not KOing the veteran, others believe the clash was a farce right from the start. Tate, however, believes the younger fighter does deserve some credit because he makes fans care about boxing, while also saying he'll make more money than other competitors as a result. He said, "Jake's an okay guy. He's putting boxing on the map, to be fair to him." Tate acknowledged Jake Paul's unique ability to draw massive attention and sell tickets. He admires, "To be fair to the guy, he can sell tickets. I mean, nobody, and this is with all due respect, should give a side about watching a 60-year-old fight a 27-year-old, but Jake can make them care, and because he can make them care, he gets paid more than most boxers will ever make in their entire careers for one fight." Tate previously called out Paul for a fight, and that's something the controversial 37-year-old is open to in the future. He added, "There was a time when Jake Paul and I were talking about fighting." Andrew Tate, known for his harsh critiques, didn't hold back when slamming Jake Paul for his choice of opponents. He claimed Jake avoids true challenges, knowing he lacks the skills to defeat prime fighters like Mike Tyson or contenders in the heavyweight division. Instead, Jake resorts to gimmicky stunts, like fighting legends Anderson Silva and Nate Diaz, which Tate sees as disrespectful to the sport. Tate's fiery comments underline his disdain for the spectacle over genuine competition in boxing.
Because he's now old, and I would be an absolutely tragic shame to knock out an old version of his prime self. That doesn't feel fair, you know? Prime Tyson would have ripped me apart in a boxing match. I'm not a boxer, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps if I was a boxer and I was heavier, maybe I can make up a bunch of stories. But the truth is I'm a kickboxer and it's his rule set and he was Mike Tyson. He would have beaten me, so to beat him when he's past his prime just feels dishonorable, and I'd feel dirty for doing that. So there's no amount of money on the planet that could convince me to fight.
ASI, you want 185, I want 200. I didn't want to budge, you didn't want to budge. Mr. Beast said, why don't we just meet in the middle? Good point, Mr. Beast. I'm down. 192.5. That's my final.
What do you think his excuse will be now?
He's probably just gonna say, no, I'm not going to 185. I'm focused on my music career.
Furthermore, Jake Paul and KSI have been bitter rivals for a long time, but are still yet to settle their differences in the boxing ring. Jake Paul discussed a negotiation over fight weight with KSI, mentioning their disagreements over the ideal weight class. Initially, Jake proposed 185 lbs, but KSI felt 183 lbs would be too difficult for him. Jake also hinted at the possibility of KSI turning down the offer due to other priorities.
KSI or Jake Paul?
What, in a fight?
Yeah?
Jake Paul. All day, every day.
Why?
Just think he knocks him out cold.
Tyson Fury, a professional boxer, also picked Jake Paul as a winner if he fights with KSI. The YouTube stars have been on a collision course for over half a decade as the two poster boys for the explosion of influencer boxing. KSI's former promoter Mams Taylor admitted during an exclusive interview that the fight may never happen. Taylor added, "I publicly tweeted that I am willing to put my ego with Paul's promoter Nakisa Badarian aside and facilitate this deal. Jake wanted it. He agreed to 175 pounds initially, then we agreed to a verbal deal at 180 pounds. Everything was agreed with details to come, and then Jake lost to Tommy." Andrew Tate expressed confusion over Jake Paul's decision to fight Nate Diaz instead of KSI, despite the earlier discussions. He added, "He then decided to fight Nate Diaz instead and not fight KSI. I'm still a bit confused about it. I texted Nakisa and said, dude, ceasefire, and said, let's make this fight happen for the people for part of their legacy. I said, let's do it at 185 pounds, which is what Jake proposed in January. 183 pounds is tough for KSI, but it just isn't happening." However, Tate acknowledged that 183 pounds would be difficult for KSI, but despite the efforts, the fight seems unlikely to happen. Andrew Tate expressed strong opposition to Jake Paul's demands, stating that neither KSI nor Paul need each other. He continued, "We will not be succumbing to all of their demands, and he isn't a fighter who needs to fight Jake Paul, so we won't give up weight and agree to stipulations that give Jake an advantage. We won't be trodden on, neither fighter needs each other, and I think Jake is continuing to milk his facade of wanting to become a world champion." Andrew Tate remains firm in his stance, refusing to accept any terms that would give Jake Paul an advantage in negotiations. He emphasized that neither KSI nor Jake needed the fight, and criticized Jake for perpetuating a facade of aiming to become a world champion. According to Tate, neither fighter should be pushed into unfair stipulations, with both standing firm in their positions. Jake Paul's next opponent has yet to be officially confirmed, but speculations point to potential matchups with fighters like KSI or Andrew Tate. Paul continues to be linked to high-profile bouts, with fans eagerly awaiting an announcement. Do you think KSI and Jake Paul will ever fight, or will Jake Paul ever step up to face a true boxing champion? Who do you think Jake Paul should fight next? As Jake navigates through his boxing career, the hype surrounding his future fights only grows. Let us know your predictions, and stay tuned for official updates on who Jake Paul will face next. Thanks for watching.